Welcome back, team. Welcome to session 10. Session 10 is Bastion Host. How do we create a machine and how do we put behind Bastion Host? What is the purpose of Bastion Host? Bastion Host is a jump host which actually allows you to secure your public IP, your machine, because you keep the machine with private IP address, and to reach out to this machine we need another machine which will have a public IP address. So purpose of the Bastion host is you will have a machine which will have a public IP address but with the same private subnet in which you will put your production machine. Now with public IP address you will reach out to the Bastion host. Once you are inside this machine, from that machine you will connect to your production machine through the private IP address. So with public IP address we will connect to the Bastion host, and from within the Bastion host using private IP address of the production machine or virtual machine will connect to the machine. So but the production machine will not have a public IP address, it will have a private IP address. We are going to create two important resources, Azure Bastion Host and Azure Bastion Service. We are going to use following Azure resources for the same: Terraform input variables, public IP address, network interface card, virtual machine, Null resources, then Terraform file provisioner, Terraform remote execution provisioner, Azure Bastion Host, and Terraform output value. Then we have the same process. We have the key already created as we created in the previous session. And inside the Terraform directory we have we have a SSH keys directory. Inside that we have created these keys. The keys are already existing in this case, in this time, and the keys are already renamed. I'll show you. I am working inside the session 10th directory, inside the Terraform manifest. This is my location, and here we have SSH keys directory. Inside that we have these keys, and let me check if the appropriate permissions are there or not, because if you don't have right permission, Terraform will not work. You have to ensure that permissions are 600 or 400. At least for the private key you must have 400 permission. Right now the private key is having the value 600. Let me make it chmod 400 SSH keys and the file name. I need to ensure that key should have 400 permissions on the private key at least. This is a required permission. So we have these keys set. Bastion VM. This is Bastion host input variables. The Bastion host service subnet name where it will be created. The service address prefixes, then Bastion host Linux VM. This is my Linux VM that will be working as a Bastion host, and for this machine we need public IP address. So public IP address, network interface card, Azure network Linux virtual machine, the Bastion host. So this is actually the Bastion host we are creating. Resource group where it will be created, name of the machine, location, size, admin username, network interface IDs, SSH keys which are coming from the private key, public key. So we need public key here coming from path.module. Then on disk read write the content, source image. Which source image will be used? It will be Red Hat RHEL 8. This SKU is 83GEN Gen 2. Version is latest. Then move the SSH key to the Bastion host. Why? Because we need the Bastion host to connect to the production machine through SSH keys. So we need to pass the key, private public key, to the Bastion host also in some directory which later on we will use to connect to the production machine. So this is a all null provider C1 version, the version which will be required. Null resources to Terraform provisioner, the connection, and type is SSH. This is the connection part we are talking about. So it will copy this key, public key, to the temp directory of the Bastion host. Meaning is clear. This is a private key, not public key, sorry. This is a private key. This private key will be copied to /temp directory, which means from once inside the Bastion host, using this private key, we will be connecting to our production machine, and the source is this private key, and destination is a temp Terraform Azure. So this is the file where location where it will be copied in the Bastion host, because ultimately from the Bastion host we will be connecting to the production machine at the final public machine, which will be, of course, which will be into the private IP. And remote execution, this is the permission. Of course, I told you that we need to have permission 400, otherwise it will not create the key and it will not allow. So permissions are mandatory. You have to have 400 permission. I just now demonstrated this command. Then rest is Azure Bastion Service, the subnet, Bastion public IP address, Bastion Service host, and then output that will be displayed, and the Terraform TF vars. These are the additional resources and remote public access of to the web Linux VM. Azure Bastion host is what we need, and the Azure Bastion service that will be created. This is the public Linux. I don't want the public. This will remain commented out. So web Linux VM network interface. This is the network interface card that will be assigned to the machine, and then web Linux output. These are all the files which you can see in these corresponding file names. Then execute the commands. Let's go ahead. Terraform init. Remember, I have already sourced the environment variable and I'm already logged in. I have not closed the terminal since then, so I will be able to execute all the commands. Terraform plan. I should have validated first, but that's okay. Yes, validated. Plan done. Let's apply -auto -approve. This will create two machines. One is Bastion host with the public IP address. One is the web instance with the private IP address. Will connect to the Bastion host, and from within the Bastion host, using the private IP from /temp directory, will be connecting to the web VM. It will take 5-7 minutes. Let's wait for it to complete. Yes, team, you can see these resources that are being created. The Bastion host public IP. I should be able to connect to this public IP address. But if you look at the actual machine, the machine which we are creating, the Linux machine, this will not have a public IP address. This will have only private IP address. There will be no public IP address assigned to this machine, and will be connecting to this machine from the Bastion host. So once this setup is complete, resource creation is complete, we will see all these things connecting using public IP address of the Bastion host, and then from that machine will be connecting to the Linux VM with the private IP address. Let's see the private IP address that we can get inside the networking. Availability, monitoring, networking here. This is the private IP address. So we'll connect to this private IP address using the SSH key, which is inside temp directory of the Bastion host. It took nearly 10 minutes. Okay, that's fine. We got the private IP address of the Linux VM. We got the public IP address of the Bastion host. So let's connect SSH -i SSH key terraform.pub, that is the public key. This is the username. And what is the public IP address? Let me grab it from there. All resources, Bastion host, public IP address. This is the public IP address of the Bastion host. Let's try. Yeah, connected. And from this, we are working inside the Bastion host. Now we can connect to the temp. Let's go to the temp directory /tmp. Here we should find the public key, the key which we have copied through the Terraform itself. Now from here we are going to connect to our virtual machine using the same key and the private IP address of the web VM. This is my web VM, and inside networking this is the private IP address of my web VM, and this should connect. Yes, that's correct. Now we are connected to the web machine, which is a public IP, private IP, no public IP address. So since we are this is a security implementation, we never allow the machines to have public IP address, so that nobody can connect from the public IP address. And though to install packages, manage packages, we have to connect to the machine, and we connect it through the Bastion host. So coming out of it now, exit from the web VM, exit from the Bastion host, and Terraform destroy. And that's all for this session. Thank you very much, team.